We are here with Edwin Molina from Catholit Ministry. Edwin and I have known each other for years, so great to have you on, Edwin.
Yeah, it's an honor that you guys have invited me to this new podcast for you guys and the new Mana movie, which I've been looking forward to for the past year and a half.
Share with us about your ministry and how you got into it more in that realm.
Man, it's crazy, but I'm gonna share it up real quick. Basically, we've been serving the young adult community for the past since 2015. I can't make the numbers right now, maybe 8 years. And when I reverted, like legit just gave my life to Jesus back in 2017 years, 18. I was just in love with the Lord, and I was the guy that did not want to talk to anyone about my faith. I was just, I'm just here serving. Yeah, but I just move tables and chairs. That's it. Don't ask me anything. I'm not gonna do anything for Jesus. And Jesus to me was more of like a cultural lifestyle, right? That I would just do Sundays, and that's it. After Sunday, I was another guy. But basically, the Lord did a huge miracle in my life, completely changed my heart, my mind, my soul. And I reverted to the faith. My wife was already in love with the Lord since we started back in 2013. We've been dating for almost 11 years, almost in January 2024. And with the gifts that she had, put to the Lord in service, plus the stuff that the Lord was doing in my life, I just couldn't keep quiet and just learning so much, apologetics, Mariology, Christology, spiritual warfare, and every testimony that the Lord was allowing me to see and to actually also be a living testimony for the faith. Yeah, I got invited to a lot of like talks and stuff like that. So my wife and I, we were like, you know what, and we also started doing Catholic shirts, like this one right here. This one is in Latin, Pacho Christi Confortame, from the Anima Christi Prayer. And back in 2018, we started the shirts, and we're like, we need to like get people promote the faith as they walk without talking too much. But like, how's that? Well, I was already doing some kind of shirts by my hand, just secular, getting any orders like that. I was doing handiwork there, like that's called screen printing. And then my wife was already like very involved into like creating designs and stuff like that. So we're like, 1 + 1 is 2. Let's go. Let's do this. So that's how we started Catholit Ministry, which means Catholics on fire, but all together, right? Lit, L-I-T, right? Leading the fire. So basically, because we are very fired up, we are pretty crazy. I'm Dominican. I'm a little bit crazy guy. I'm very hyped up. That's just who I am. And my wife is very energetic and she loves to laugh. So we are just like a bomb of like full fire for the Lord. And we gave our life to the Lord since 2018 nonstop. And back in 2021, after we got married, we just made our ministry solid consolidated. Right now we're paying taxes, we're doing this and that. So now we've been just doing this for the past 2 years, just straight up preaching, taking the gospel, doing a lot of like events, mostly retreats for kids, youth, and young adults, and also couples. We do a lot of that, coaching in the life of singlehood, in the life of courtship, and the life of marriage. So basically, that's who we are. And one of the things that is our core values is that we adhere ourselves to the supreme law of the church, which is the salvation of souls, right? So we're kind of be orthodoxy there, and we're just taking the Lord, to everyone out there who is much in need of His word. So basically, on a gist, never done it so quick, but that's where we are.
That's great. So how have you kept your zeal up? Because I know once you get into ministry and it goes across a couple of years, it can get exhausting and some people get burnt out. What tips would you share, and how are you able to do that?
Man, that's so right on. I mean, we've gone through so many of those situations. I am a guy who, I self-taught guy, right? So I listen to a lot of people when it comes to like persistence, right? Discipline. And I was like, in the life of work, regular professional life, if you want to succeed in whatever, you got to keep going no matter the things that happens. You got to keep trying. So when it comes to the ministry life, it's very hard. Number one, the support sucks in Catholicism. It is what it is, you know. I know you guys are going through that too. Number two, it can get discouraging because you want to do as much as you can, but then, like, for example, like, a lot of stuff will happen in your life. Work will change, or a lot of problems will come into the work life, or sickness, right? Which my wife and I've gone through a lot of, like, crazy sickness, especially her. And, like, you know, at some point you're like, man, what are we like? Are we gonna let this die? You know? And I'm always for the front of, like, you know, I need to remember why I started this, why we started to do this. And the number one reason is because I love Jesus so much. And you know, there's a good understanding of, like, when you share testimony, when you give a talk or whatever, like, God is not gonna necessarily, like, let you know the fruits of that ministry or of that talk or whatever. You know, most likely he's not gonna let you know, because that can put up your ego. Oh, like, oh, look, this is all this stuff that you've done. Look how it has impacted many lives, and that can hurt some people because their ego might just outgrow, and they're gonna think it's their own doing and not God's doing. But in our lives, in our ministry for the past 5 years, on and off, like, the testimonies, every time it just comes, right? And in a way, we accepted it very humbling, because, you know, at the end of the day, like, we feel tired. We go through a lot of, like, problems, right? Emotional problems, economical problems, you name it. And the only thing that keeps us going is the love of God. We love him so much that how come are we gonna just keep into for ourselves the love that we know that he has for us, and not share with everyone out there? And today more than ever, and it's just not gonna stop. It's actually gonna get even more crazy as we go through time. Those who knows the Lord, no matter in what you know, vocation you're living on, you must proclaim the gospel. And, you know, the Lord gave us a gift of speaking, of be able to manage social media. So why not do that, right? And every time we feel like, oh, there's so much to do, and, like, we don't have a lot of time, I'm like, guess what? I came here to this life to live for Jesus. And if I want to be like Jesus, I need to do sacrifices. So you know what? We need to do this, no matter if it costs us, like, some kind of, like, time frame of, like, maybe going out to have good times with friends and family. You know, let's put in the work for the Lord without sacrificing the main vocation, which is our marriage. But, you know, like, at the end of the day, just the love of God. You know, like, if anyone goes into our website and you look up about us, right, you're gonna see right there the legitimate reason why we do this. It's because we love Jesus, we love the church, and we want to propagate that, no matter what's going on in our lives, and no matter what's going on out there in the world. So, you know, it's very easy to get discouraged, but I know how much God loves me. And every time, there's been a couple of times where we're like, let's just, you know, slow down for a bit. And then someone out of nowhere will go, hey guys, what's going on? We miss you guys. What's going on with the ministry? And we're like, no, we're just, you know, we're a little slow right now. This and that's going on. And it's like God keeps calling us back into this kind of work that we're doing right now.
There are so many people out there that hear what you're saying and are like, man, this guy's crazy all in. What would you say to encourage people to be more generous with the faith and with the gifts that God's given them?
Selfishness is huge. Like, most of human people, right? Most of the human people, it's easy to be selfish. Why? Because self-preservation. You think about, okay, like, you know, let's say I get $100 a week. What am I gonna do with $100? Well, I can buy some food, $5 for electricity, $5 for this. What about the church? What about God? What about the people in need, right? What about propagating the faith? So I remember right before my wife and I were gonna get married, we're talking very strong into, like, what do we do? And this is one side, right? Like, the economic side. What are we going to do once we get married, once we have a more stable life, how much are we going to contribute monetarily to the church? And, it's not like we just Protestants and whatever. In the Catholic Church, we ought to also give it 10% of our income to the church in whatever ways you want to. You prefer, it could be 2% to your parish, it could be 5% to a specific religious group, whatever, or a specific movie, or going to the movies to help out on, getting the money to be able to reproduce more movies and stuff like that, or series, or whatever. Like, for example, Mass of the Ages, this new movie, the new Mana, like, you have to be conscious. Everything that you receive is because God wants you to receive it. It's through His grace that you're able to receive that $1, that $1,000, that $5,000 a month, that $10,000 a month, whatever God is allowing you to receive today is because He wants you to receive that. Now, you ought to understand that you must give to those that are doing the Lord's work. And, let's say that you don't have money. And that's a fact. I was at a point in my life that I was just struggling like crazy. And guess what? Probably didn't necessarily give it to the parish 100%, but guess what? I will give it to those in need. Then when it comes into talents, right? It's so easy to just sit back and chill and let everyone else do it. Because guess what? Putting the work, giving yourself, giving your gift, which received by God, God gave you those gifts, and just keeping it to you because you're just lazy, in and itself, that's already a sin. You've been selfish and laziness, right? One of the 7 deadly sins, right? Sloth. So what are you doing? I think at the end of the day, it could be monetarily, it could be gift, giving your gift to others and doing the work for God through whatever, teaching, through speaking, through counsel, you name it, you put the name to it. At the end of the day, I think it's about self-giving. Forget about yourself. Think about Jesus. He carried the cross towards Mount. He died on the cross for us. Are you dying to yourself for others in any way, economically, your time, your talents? And if you're not, come on, you need to think about, are you truly wanting to follow Jesus, or are you following yourself?
Generous Christians will change the world.
100%. And that's how the Christian community grew from like the beginning of times. They would share everything. They were not thinking about, whoa, if I give you a banana, I'm going to be left with nothing. No, they were like, here you go. You want something, you need something. And they would share everything that they had. And guess what? They was trusting God, because sometimes, like, whoa, if I give this, how am I going to get it back? Am I going to be able to receive this back later on? You're not trusting God. And I'm a living testimony that when you give, even when you don't have anything, don't worry about it. God got your back, and He's not gonna let you down, and it's a fact.
Yeah, I think you're totally right that there are a few different passages in the Bible that some people, I think, they try to erase it. They try to make it look like they never really exist. Ephesians is the one that where Peter, when they just move everybody together, everybody just sold everything they had and they put it towards the faith. And the 2 people, the husband and wife, that decided to trick in, there was some really bad outcome.
Yeah.
And the other one too is the one that Jesus say that you made a miracle about me, you talk about me and things. But I rebuke you. Stay away from me, you evildoer. So everybody pitching, always God is going to forgive him for everything. But like you say, they give us some gift, and that's why me and Ray, we say, okay, our gift is this one, and what we can do. We don't have $1 million, we don't have the money, but we have that gift for understanding filming, and he's an engineer, understanding all the medical and technical. We've been really back and forth always between, okay, you push what you can do really well, I can do mine. And but nobody's donating money, and everybody, like you say, that they want a really good product, but good product comes with you gotta pay somebody, and you gotta cost something too. I mean, so yeah, it's definitely it's definitely a challenge. I mean, to making people understanding, and I mean how much they could really affect in a society so much. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's about what's really important to you. Like you actually gonna put your money onto what you believe is true to you. All right, that can be a little bit subjective, right? I mean, it's up to you as a person to say what is important to me. It's important to me to propagate the faith to help others. Let's say you cannot do it. You got 5 kids, whatever, you put the name to your situation. But what within my possibilities, I can help others to also get out there and do what's possible to get more people to fall in love with Jesus. Because at the end of the day, this is all about salvation. Why are you guys doing this movie? Because you want more people to believe in the Eucharist. Why? Because it is the fruit of the tree, right? In the holy sacrifice of the cross. So for what? For our salvation. Like, you don't want people to believe in the Eucharist just because it's cute. No, because you want salvation to the soul, right? And I don't know where you're going to the next question, but I want to say, because I've been thinking about this forever. One of the greatest video I ever watched about like something that struck me was one that Ray did maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, about how in every Eucharistic miracle there was something very particular, which it was that it's a flesh from a heart. That's crazy. You literally, everyone that receives communion is receiving the heart of Jesus. That's mind blowing. Like, like a dear pastor of mine will say, like, boom, that's you, like, just shut your brains out. But guess what? This movie, I know for a fact, it's gonna be able to help you burn your mind through vision, right? Through seeing that, through seeing the transfiguration, transubstantiation, I'm sorry, happening in what CGI is the name, right? Of the hotel name?
Special effect, the CGI, yes.
Special effects. So, like, to not think that this is important, it's a little bit selfish, and also a little bit like childish. You know what I mean? Like, if your faith is not important, I get you. I'm sorry for you. That shouldn't be the case. But if it is important, what are you doing to help this cause happening?
My line of thoughts is like I think everybody of us have some people that you really don't like it. I mean, something really did something wrong, and it's really hard in the morning. I usually get up to pray for them, just because God loves them. I mean, it's not because you have to do the right things over there, but because God died for them, and He loves them so much that He died for them, and for me to don't do something for somebody you love. You say you love, I love Jesus. It's a joke. I mean, it cannot delete that love. I mean, because if you love, you do something like what's the meaning for love is to do a will the good of another.
Yeah.
Even if it's going to cost you. I mean, you love your wife. Would you, if you see a car coming and going to hit me, you going to protect it with all your body and stuff, and say you do for Jesus, but then you don't do it. It's kind of like a deleted purpose for what you've done so far. I mean, so yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's a challenge. I mean, but every morning I don't want to pray. It's like I want to do my prayer. That person there, through that person. I mean, I'm going to, but then I have to say, okay, let's do it. I mean, even though I will not do it with full of joy, but at least it's the joy by my love that motivates that strength. And I mean, hopefully one day I will do like some saint to do like, but it's yeah.
You mentioned how when you were younger, you really didn't care too much about the faith. You wanted to keep it like quiet, not talk about it. What changed? How has the Eucharist transformed your life?
It's the center of why I actually reverted to the faith. It's the center why I gave my life to Jesus, and I will never finish through His grace. He gives me, I pray that He always gives me the strength to be faithful to Him until the end. when I reverted, I obviously knew God was real, you know. And I say obviously because it's too crazy not to think so. You know, I leave it there for the atheist. Just looking into nature, it just makes sense. So and into your like body autonomy, everything. So anyway, so when I reverted through a miracle, I was very attached to secular music. That secular music would work in my brain a way that I would be somebody else in church. And by the way, I'm not saying like it's the secular music's fault. No, I did my decisions, right? I took the decisions that I took. It is what it is. But I was influenced a lot by my friends outside of the church, as well as the music. I love music. So I was like 24/7 listening to this crappy music, denigrating women, denigrating human dignity, denigrating marriage, denigrating sex, denigrating everything that God made good. It's a work of the devil. I'm not putting the artists that they're just devil worshippers. That's not the point. The point is that they're being, manipulated to destroy everything that is good out there that God made sacred, because He's sacred. So go ahead.
Shout out to Enoch. You love Enoch, huh?
Oh yeah, Enoch is my boy.
The crapper out there.
Yeah, he's the best for me right now. Honestly, he's just so good. He knows how to do music, and he just got great lyrics. It's just great. Like he's edifying through the lyrics. I love that. And I knew Enoch. Shout out to you, my brother. I knew Enoch before he started rapping back again, because he used to rap way before Jesus in his life, whatever. Then he would just like full on traditional. And then he decided to start up again. And I think he just did a great decision, because a lot of people have fallen back into more Orthodox faith because of his music. So being that said, God did a miracle. I was driving one day in my car, and boom, one second to another, I was like legit actually listening to the lyrics. I was pumping to it, and just, and I was like, what am I doing? So basically I cried for a whole hour in the drive to my work in the hectic traffic. And then I gave my life to Jesus. And then I was like, hold on. But like, yeah, I know, like, Jesus is real. Yeah, but like, what about like legit my faith, right? Like, what is it that I truly believe? And that's why I started doing more research into the core values of our faith. And what is there more than the most important thing of the Catholic faith is the Holy Eucharist. So I found all this evidence for the Eucharist through even like Eucharistic miracles, right? Which have been studied by scientists, which you, Ray, have done tremendous work into that, which I appreciate it so much, man, that I pray for you, because it's just great what you've done by the grace of God. Praise God. And also by just reading the fathers and all that stuff. And when I was confronted with the truth of the Holy Eucharist, right? Reading the Bible, when Jesus did not back down from the reality, I am the bread of life. Those who do not eat will not have life. They left Jesus because Jesus spoke too real of like chewing his body. And guess what? Jesus is going to say, no, don't go away. Don't go away. No, I'm just playing. I don't want you to go away, because Jesus wants people to follow him. That's a fact, right? And he wants everyone to love and to follow him and to be saved, right? To get to salvation. But he didn't back down. He said to the apostles, would you also go away? What did Peter say? To whom should we go, Lord, if you have words of eternal life? When I read that, I was like, whoa. And I just knew it was true. And it was up to me to accept the truth or to just back down and live my crazy life. And I did, by the grace of God, the best thing ever in my life. It was accepting the truth of Jesus in the Eucharist. And a funny story, that all happened like so fast in my life. Like I'm on like a couple of long months, no more than 6. I was like crazy, not just for Jesus, which is great. I'm still at. And I remember I proposed to my wife back in 2019 at World Youth in Panama. I proposed to her. She said yes. Wow. The video went viral. We were like in a stage, whatever, 4 months later, we are in a Eucharistic adoration worship. They do this a lot in Hispanics. I know they do it too in Anglo-speaking communities, but mostly in Spanish, like most of the Catholic singers, they do adoration. That's what they do. And we were with this good friend of mine, Kerry Marquez, up north over here, Port St. Lucie, I think it was. And I'm just there. There's a couple of videos and pictures of me adoring Jesus. And they're kneeling down. He's in front of me, in the monstrance. And I'm just like in love with the Eucharist. Like madly in love with the Eucharist. You can see it in my body language, my face, everything, right? And I remember my wife, a couple of days later, she comes to me like very worried. And she comes to me like, hey, I want to ask you something, like, are you sure you want to marry me? I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Relax. What are you? Obviously, I want to marry you. I discerned for 6 to 8 months about this. Like, is marriage my vocation that I want to pursue? That God's calling me to? Is you my used to be girlfriend now fiance that I want to be married for all my life? And I told her, yes, of course. What are you talking about? She's like, I don't know. I don't want to feel like I'm a wall from you to actually become a priest. I'm like, what are you talking about becoming a priest? She's like, no, because you remember like 2 days ago when we were in Port St. Lucie, I saw you there like adoring Jesus in such a deep way that was just like, am I like interrupting his calling? I was like, no, like me loving Jesus in the Eucharist does not mean that I just want to be a priest and that's my calling. That just means that I know the reality of the Eucharist. And that I acknowledge that he's the Lord of Lords, the King of Kings. He is the Word incarnate, right? He is God. And how can I not fall in love with him? And, what she did was nothing bad. It was something very humanly understandable. She will see me like just going crazy about Jesus in the Eucharist, right after I reverted. So maybe she was thinking like, maybe he's just not, let's say, like, probably he's not right in his mind. Probably he just wants to become a priest and he just wants to marry, quote unquote. That I guess that's what she was thinking, because we've been together by that time 6 years already. I mean, we met in 10th grade. But that was not the case. I mean, we've been married for 2 years. The best thing of my life after Jesus is my wife. I've been the most happiest guy on earth after I married my wife, because God poured out so many graces over us through the sacrament of matrimony. That is ridiculous. So the Eucharist, without the Eucharist, I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't even know who I would be. I cannot see myself anywhere else but in love with the Eucharist. That drives me to what? To die for myself, for my wife, right? I mean, like, just the whole theology of the Eucharist is just like mind-blowing. It's just not about like a supper, like a meal. Is the sacrifice of the Lord that starts in the meal, goes to the cross, and we eat the resurrected body. But without the cross and the sacrifice, which is a new covenant, there wouldn't be any Eucharist. And like, if Protestants will understand this and just like chill down to the judgmental, and I'm not saying all Protestants, some Protestants, shut down the judgmental mindset that we're just evil, like Catholics evil. They will see through the reality of the plan of God through the entire history of salvation. From the beginning, always is the song through Melchizedek, right? I don't know if I say that right in English. Offering the wine and bread back in Genesis. There is no other way but through Jesus in the Eucharist for you to truly encounter Christ, for you to truly be intimate, right? That's another false claim that, you don't have an intimacy relationship with Jesus. How much more intimacy than literally having within you? That's just like crazy. It's just amazingly crazy. And that's why when I receive Jesus in the Eucharist, we're not worth of receiving Jesus, but he wants us to receive him. And that's it's just crazy. It's a full gift. It's a full grace to actually receive God, the one that made everything, that made you, the one that possesses everything. Now you possess him within you. That's just wow, and the Eucharist. I mean, without the Eucharist, like my favorite saint out there, after the mains, right? the Trinity, Mama Mary, Papa Joseph, then it's Padre Pio for me. You know, it's easier for the world, for the universe to be without the sun than without the Mass. And it's just a fact. Without the Catholic Church, without Jesus on the Eucharist, the expiation of the sins could not be possible. Every grace that comes to the world comes through the Holy Eucharist, through the Church, the Catholic Church. And you know, God does what he does, because I'm not trying to put God into a box into Catholic doctrine. He can do whatever he wants. He's God. But he laid it out very clear. From the beginning, he knew what was going to happen to us, the Christian faith, that we were going to divide ourselves, right? He knew it. That's why he prayed the same night of the Holy Supper, right? What did he pray? That they got, like, he wants us, his followers, to be one, like you and I are one. He was talking to God the Father, right? The unity, inseparable. That's what Jesus wants for his church, his body. Right now, you can say his body was a little bit broken up, you know, because the Protestant Reformation. And a little bit before that too, some heresy here and there, heretics, whatever, but the church stood as one. And when the Protestants just break apart and just 40,000 plus now new, you know, Christian denominations and whatnot, it's just crazy. I don't like to give it too much into like, prophecies, you know, private prophecies, all that stuff. I do read them, I do listen to them, because, you know, it's something that could be important to your own daily life, daily prayer, you know, to those who understand how to receive these private prophecies. But private prophecies or not, by the end of time, every Protestant will have to become Catholic, because that's God's will. And God's will is going to get there. When you go to confession and you receive the Eucharist, it's like you are in the gym. It's literally the gym. Punch right and left, right and left, right and left. The Eucharist, confession. The Eucharist, confession. Just making your life more holy in his image. Think about that. You will consume Jesus so much that if you are in his grace, and if you really want to follow him and be like Jesus, through consuming him, receiving divine grace, you will be an image of Jesus.
Yeah, and I think there is something beautiful in that. I mean, there's some of the Protestant, they think it's so hard to believe that Jesus Christ can become this piece of bread. I said, wait a second. Christ, God, become a man. It's much bigger jump. I mean, the devil renounced to serving God, not because he knew that he was becoming bread. He never said, I mean, he left God because he became a bread. He left God because he became man, and he was such a lower creature. That's why the Satan left Christ, never for the bread. So that means the jump from become a God, become a man is much higher than the God man become a piece of bread. So it's not that hard to think. I mean, that he will do that for us. I mean, it's no. If you're really thinking, I mean, it's like he went all the ways. Like he put all the chips he had for poker all on us. I mean, so it's not. I mean, he was kind of countering and say, oh, so I really think. I mean, it's such as if it does such stumbling blocks to really reflect about what he was able to do just by speaking. I mean, he just created a universe, and how you now have hard times that he can become a piece of bread just on this way we can consume him every day. He just even said on our Father, our daily bread. Now, what is his daily bread? Is that figuratively speaking manna, piece of host down there? It doesn't make no sense. Why put that word in the prayer to Christ, to God, if it was just a figuratively? It doesn't make no sense. I mean, he will say something more important. I mean, it's like if you say something figuratively, yeah.
You mentioned you're from the Dominican Republic, and I'm sure there's a lot of fallen away Catholics out there. What has been helpful in reaching them? Because they were raised in the faith, they probably received the sacraments and said the rosary and things like that, and still left. What have you seen as being helpful in reaching them?
The one thing that I have noticed through all my lifetime that actually, I've been going to mass ever since I've been a kid. I was born within a month. I was baptized by the grace of God and my mother and my father. But one thing I never took serious, it was the mass. And listen, it is what it is. Why? Because in the mass, what I will see, it was a gathering of people having fun. And it's just a fact. Having fun, and then everyone will stand up and receive something that seems to be important. And I say that seems because the mediums that were used to make that look important, it was like a regular, getting together for a celebration for like a birthday. That's what I will see. Now, when you will find the few priests that would present reverence and just awe for the Holy Eucharist, you will see the difference of the faith. You will see how the faith spike within the community. And it's just a fact. Look, I came to, in the middle of pandemic, 2020-ish, I came to a new parish. And that parish, there was a Dominican priest that loves the Eucharist like crazy. Every homily, no matter what day it was that he will say mass, every homily, some way or another, he will end up talking about the importance of Jesus in the Eucharist, his body, soul, blood, and divinity. Like almost every homily, we end up talking about the importance of loving Jesus and the reverence toward Jesus. Guess what? This parish, before he got there, was basically dying. Like the entire population were past 50 years old. It was pure, elderly going. When he came to this parish, talking about the Eucharist, the first thing he did was putting a 24/7 Eucharistic chapel, perpetual chapel, 24/7, open to the public. And obviously, there's a specific organization. Jesus is never alone. Throughout the whole 24 hours a day, there's 2 people adoring Jesus. And it's open for anybody else that wants to go. That was his first goal. This parish bloomed. And it is a fact. When a good priest puts the focus of the Holy Eucharist in that community, the community fall in love with the Eucharist. The community fall in love with Jesus, fall in love with the church, and there are fire for the faith. When a priest doesn't give much interest into like the importance of the Eucharist, the holy body of Christ. We're not talking about the choir necessarily. We're not talking about how to read the readings. We're not talking about the ushers. We're talking about the prayer, the canon of the Mass. When that's not straight there, the faith is just going to diminish. That's why the life of a priest is very difficult, because the salvation of that community is on their hands. Just like the salvation, in many ways, of my family, it's on me. If I fail, I will fail for the salvation. If a priest fail, he's gonna fail to not help to the salvation of those souls of the community. I wrote down an open letter to all priests in the entire world. I've not done the video about this. I wrote it like almost a year ago, because I noted that whatever the priest is madly in love with Jesus in the Eucharist, it's a game changer. So that's what has helped many people, Hispanics, English speaking. It doesn't matter what ethnicity you are. If the priest of your parish, of your community, is madly in love with Jesus in the Eucharist, that would change everything. And I would say that's the key holder. That's why when you invite him into this, I was like, let's go. Because the Eucharist is the key, no one to observation. It's the key for the fire of the faith.
That's awesome, Edwin. I want to ask you, how has the Eucharist impacted your marriage? Because personally, marriage and all these things are not easy, right? And things can come up that challenge both of you. And I think the Eucharist is so powerful in helping you be a saint, right? Do you have any examples there you want to share?
The Eucharist in our marriage. When you look into the Eucharist, right? I already talked about the Eucharist is the holy sacrifice, right? But what does it really mean? What did Jesus really did, right, in the sacrifice? He gave his body, his everything. He sold everything for the salvation of our souls. So when I got to understand that legitimate, I was like, if that what love really means, I must sacrifice for my wife. And, you know, it's a bold, makes it very clear there. A lot of people don't understand it, you know. In Corinthians, it becomes very difficult. Some people just polarize it and they just go with wife submits to the husband, and they just go, ah. Listen, man, the whole understanding about the holy sacrifice, the Eucharist, it's a self-giving, right? He gives himself to us in the most vulnerable way, right? The same way has to happen in your marriage. You must give myself, I must give myself to my wife completely, full sacrifice for her, and also vulnerable. Like, yeah, I'm a man, I don't cry so much or whatever, but I cry a lot because I'm sentimental. I have love within me, and when things are, they look ugly, they're scary, or they're just sad, you know, I feel sad. But to sacrifice my wife, my life for my wife, it's just right there. It's right there in the Eucharist. And to me, when I was able to understand that, I was like, wow, it's like, you know, the wedding feast, right? That's the goal of Jesus and his whole salvation, you know, plan of God. Like, we're all gonna be united in this holy feast of matrimony, right? Like he's the groom, right? We are the bride of Christ. I am the groom. I have a wife. I have a bride. It's just beautiful. And one of the books I love the most, one of the books, right? There are many books in the Bible, is Apocalypse towards the end, when he's literally showing there the beauty of the Eucharist, right? The beauty of Jesus giving himself to us. And that just calls me every day. You know, it's a daily calling to die to myself in the cross for my wife, to pick up my cross, to love my wife no matter what happening. It's 100% always like that? No, I fail. You know, I fail. But it's a constant reminder that if I truly want to portray Jesus in my family, I must sacrifice myself and give myself to her. You know, and obviously, you know, matrimony, the holy matrimony is not consumed, right? Like you go to the mass, you say your vows. It's not legitimate until, right, you give yourself with your wife, you unite your body in conjugal act, right? And it's just beautiful. That's where like that's where the holy matrimony becomes real, right? In that self-giving love in the act of in the conjugal act. And it's the pure intimacy where two bodies become one. Think about that when you receive Jesus. You're receiving him too. He's giving himself to you, to me, just in the most vulnerable way, in the most humbling way, because he loves you and he wants to give you life, right? That's all about a marriage. My sacrifice has to give life to my wife and reciprocate. And if that's not happening, you're not understanding the Eucharist and you're not understanding holy matrimony. I think holy matrimony and Eucharist is so much alike in different spectrums. Don't get me wrong. But it just like makes, like, you know, like that's why I remember 4 years ago, I was talking to a priest about the beauty of her faith, the beauty of the plan of God. Like everything's so perfect. Everything's so beautiful that you're just like, wow, it's just amazing. And when you think about it a lot, you forget about the craziness of the world. You just focus on like the loving God that has made us and that wants to be with us for all eternity. Yeah, that's how I would say how it impacted our marriage.
We heard you before mentioning all the things that are important, that have affected to you, to your growth on the faith. I mean, and you mentioned San Padre Pio. I mean, was part of my family, dear, close to my family. And can you unpack in how he helped to understand the Eucharist, to understanding the faith too, but as well why it was important for you. I mean, it's like I know this is another stumbling blocks with some of the Protestants and non-believers about thinking we idolize these people, but they are just people. For my take, is that just people closer to God. That, I mean, like it's one our good friend that knows the Bible better than us. It's not God. I think these one are one of the most servant person that love God, that you want to just serve him. But can you unpack in your own way how that affected you?
Man, Padre Pio, he's a true spiritual father to me. You know, when I started learning about Padre Pio, as I was reverting to the faith, he just gave me so much hope, you know, so much hope into understanding also what does it mean to follow Jesus, right? Padre Pio, my favorite mystery of the Holy Rosary mysteries are the dolorous mysteries, right? That the sorrowful mysteries. And those were also his favorite mysteries. And before I met Padre Pio, I was already loving the sorrowful mysteries. Then when I started learning about him and reading into his writings, his letters back and forth with spiritual directors, with a couple of friends in there, with spiritual daughters and whatnot. Also, the different experiences of like anyone in the world that would show up about his life, and they were just like struck by his life, and struck by the things he will say, and struck just by looking at him, because he was mere representation of the love of God to everyone around him. But why was that? And that's what struck me. And you know, when he all the time, when he will see people sinning, when he will understand what people were seeing, also, you know, he was a sinner too. He didn't fall into the idea of like these dang people, like, what are they like, are they stupid? That wasn't his case. What was he doing? He was sacrificing himself in prayer, abstinence, penance, for the conversion of those people that he will get to know, for the sinners of the world, for the people that rejected Jesus, that do not know Jesus. He was doing that out of pure love. Pure love. And, you know, me as a man, I don't know, I mean, you guys are men too. But we just, like, when we are in sacrificial mode, we just feel more alive, I want to say. Why? Because it's within us. That's why God made us sacrificial men. Like, if you're a man and you're not sacrificing yourself for others, doesn't matter what it is. It could be your wife, your kids, could be your community. It doesn't matter. You're not owning up to the nature of who you are as a man. And Padre Pio is just excellent at this. Pure sacrifice. And, you know, he will obviously unite this sacrifice to Jesus and the passion of Jesus. He loved the passion. And why else do we think that God gave the graces for him to receive the stigmatas, right? Why? Because he loved the passion, and God just gave him, like, you know what? Let me give you a gift. You love the passion so much. I want you to, like, you know, he desired to unite all his suffering to Jesus. And Jesus was like, let me just make it more real to you. And give him the stigmatas. Horrible pain. Pain, bad pain that you suffer. That's not easy to live. Now, did he ever tell Jesus, please take it off of me because it hurts so much? No. He told Jesus, take it off of me because I don't want I don't want to attract attention to me because I'm not one. Look at the humility of this guy. It's ridiculous. And to me, that's stunning. To me, it's like, whoa, like, my goodness. And this guy was just alive in the 1960s. We're not talking a guy back in 300 years, in the 300s. 1960s. And there was a guy in Petrosina, Italy, sacrificing himself in any way possible for the salvation of all humankind and for the love of Jesus, and uniting everything to the passion. And to me, it's like, wow, that just makes so much sense to my life. And when I will fall short, I will think about Padre Pio and be like, how disappointing. How disappointing is my best friend of me, who I love. And by the way, I felt like I didn't pursue him. He kind of just came to my life. I've talked a lot to Jordan Burke about this. Great guy. I love this guy. How Saint Gemma picked him too. Random ways. Just like he was not looking about, like, saints, they pick you. Most of, like 99% of the times, they pick you for a specific reason. Because, back before me, like, reverting to my faith, I was very, very, very prideful. And what is it? The opposite of prideful? Humility, right? So this man was a living resemble of the humility of Mama Mary, the humility of Jesus. And that's what struck me, and that's why I love him so much. And that's why, like, I literally have so much of Padre Pio. Like, I got a second-class relic of Padre Pio in one of my rosaries. I have a statue of Padre Pio. I have a stamp of Padre Pio. I talk to him like he's there with me. Padre Pio, like, help me out. Let me die to myself. Help me to die to myself for the love of Christ. So, yeah, I mean, that's how I can unpack it. I don't know if that was pretty long, but I love this guy. Like, things that the Lord did through his life is just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's something I think, I mean, you unpacked it really well. I mean, because he always, when people was praising him after the confession, because some miracle happened, he always ran away. And there is actually a video, I don't know if you see the video about when Gemma, that lady, that little baby, she was blind and she was able to see. There's a video about people start to cheering him, and he start to scream and say, was not me, was not me, was Christ, not me, not me. And he ran away from that.
In a way, he was like scared to get the attention, like making people think that it's him, right? He just like, the attention, you shouldn't be looking at me, look at Jesus, right? Like, it's just beautiful.
And I think that's why we love this kind of people. I'm telling this one to the Protestant that might be able to see this video, because that's help us to understanding, to always keep in core and focus on Jesus Christ. That's why we do love Mary, not as a God, as a saint, but because, I mean, they were able to really die themselves so much in order to serving God. I mean, yeah. So, and the gift Padre Pio had about to be able to hear in confession, see people's soul, and now is like what you were saying before. It's because they done so much work that, I mean, God praised them because he couldn't trust them to be able to do more. But you don't. I mean, so I think, I mean, that's supposed to be. It's same things. I think like the beauty about Jesus Christ when the Pharisees interview him and they say, and I think he was an evil guy. I mean, he's had to say, don't look at me, look what Christ has done, what God has done to me. And I mean, so because, I mean, he's my witness. I mean, because I'm able to do these miracles, that is a witness of God. God praise my work. So I hope, I mean, that, I mean, some of them clarifies these strange things that, I mean, we idolizing these people and stuff. It's just a good reminder to us, like you were saying, to be humble. I mean, to really see, be servant in a positive light, and not as a diminishing ourselves. Yeah,
100%.
Well, Edwin, we really appreciate your time today. Check him out at Catholit Ministries. And anything else you want to say before we sign off?
I just want to appreciate you guys for inviting me. I'm honored. It was a blast. Thank you so much. Please go to catholitministry.com. Catholit, right, as in fire, ministry.com. And there you can find everything about our ministry, our social media, contact us, all that beautiful stuff, the Catholic shirts that we have. So just pray for us, pray for our ministry, pray for my marriage. And guys, I pray for this beautiful project that you guys got going on. You have my full support and everything that I can, and you know that, Ray. So let's keep going, everything for the Lord. In Spanish, we have a saying, hasta el cielo no paramos. Until we reach heaven, we won't stop, basically, trying to translate that. And, there's so much we can do for the kingdom of God. And this is a beautiful project to help build the kingdom even more that what it is right now. So I salute you for this great sacrifice. This takes a lot of work, a lot of family time. This is just crazy. So, I'm sure I would never be able to do what you guys are doing, but that's why God chose you. So you got my support, you got my prayer. I'm going to be promoting this new Mana movie as much as I can, social media, YouTube. I do it mostly in people like, hey, have you heard about new Mana movie? I'm like, what are you doing? Look it up in, look it up in Instagram. Look it up, look at the trailer, all that stuff. And you're just lost, I'm just a little bit crazy like that. But yeah, so guys, thank you so much once again. And, pray up.
Awesome. Well, please like this video and share it, and have a blessed day.